Sebastian Gorka is a military and intelligence analyst, a Fox News contributor, and a former deputy assistant to President Trump. He is also the author of the upcoming book, Why We Fight, Recovering America's Will to Win, which will be out July 24th. Sebastian, you have not sent me the book yet, so I haven't read it, but I will the minute I get a copy. I'll have you back to talk about that. How you doing?
Good. I'm enjoying the penumbra of your emanations.
I have the best penumbra. Everybody says so. I have the best penumbras and some excellent emanations as well. All right, I got so much I want to ask you about, but I want to start with they're not covering this enough. I want to start with what's happening in Turkey and in Iran. Let's start with Turkey. They've just had an election in which this clown, this guy, Erdogan, has been reelected. And now, basically, he has these new powers that make him almost the lone ruler. What do you make of this? Where is this going?
I'm worried that Erdogan has been watching your show because he has become the God King of Turkey. Not only does he have more than 80% turnout at the elections, winning the elections, as of his re-election, he is now the prime minister. Well, no, he's done away with the office of prime minister, and now he is the president executive, which means he's the head of state and the head of government, which means he gets to do whatever he wants. I mean, this is the instantiation of neo-Ottomanism. He has now made himself the Sultan, the Caliph of Turkey, and now he wants to continue his project of re-Ottomanizing and destroying the Ataturk legacy. Drew, I was in Turkey for the first time, Christmas of 1988. And wherever you went, you'd see statues of Ataturk, you'd see murals, you'd see, homage to the man who created an incredibly successful secular Muslim state.
Government, yeah.
It's gone. It's all gone. I went back a few years ago. The statues have gone. The murals have disappeared. He has been erased from history because now they want to re-Islamize the state of Turkey and make it theocratic. And Erdogan is unfortunately succeeding.
He is a radical Muslim, and he does want to bring back the Ottoman Empire. He wants to be the leader of the Muslim world. Obama grouped him in, I don't know. They had some problems, Obama and Erdogan, but he said, I think if you ask them, this is Obama speaking, he said, Angela Merkel or Prime Minister Singh or President Lee or Prime Minister Erdogan or David Cameron would say we have a lot of trust and confidence in President Obama. So he ranked him with some of the leaders of the free world. What was his strategy in your view? Why was he giving credence to this guy?
I think it's the same reason that when he gave his speech in the Al-Azhar in Egypt, when Obama went to the birthplace of the Muslim Brotherhood, it's stunning to remember this. He had the Muslim Brotherhood representatives in the front row of that auditorium when he gave his speech. This is Erdogan is the Turkish equivalent of the Muslim Brotherhood, the re-theocratizing of a Muslim state. Why did he do it? Everything stems from the concept that we are the problem, that Judeo-Christian society is the problem, and America as the pinnacle of Western civilization is the issue. How else could you explain that the first priority the new president has is to go on a global apology tour, whether it's global warming, whether it's terrorism? We are the cause of it all, and lumping Erdogan in there is just another consequence of that facile analysis.
Well, to bring up another of his pals in Iran, they're now having very substantial protests. Very surprising protests. Yes. Now, can you remind people? They had these protests before when Obama was president, and he basically ditched them, didn't he?
Yeah, in 2009, we had the Green Revolution, where if you remember that absolutely heart-wrenching video of a young female protester being shot to death and being filmed on her friend's iPhone as she's bleeding out on the streets of Tehran. The Obama administration turned their back completely. The mullahs retrenched themselves. And not only that, what happened? A few years later, they released $140 billion to the mullahs in this unbelievably naive concept that if you make the Shia version of Islam stronger, then it will help balance the Sunnis, the extremists like Al Qaeda and ISIS. It's the equivalent of throwing nitroglycerine onto a bonfire to try and put it out because, hey, it's a liquid, right?
So what exactly is happening now? Why have these protests come back now?
So now what's really interesting in comparison to 2009, they're not centrally located in Tehran. Every dictatorship gets to a point, paradoxically, where it may have centralized power, but where it becomes very fragile suddenly. And with the last 5 years of Iranian adventurism around the region, deploying its assets into Yemen, having its generals run around Iraq, it has spread itself so thin that the Iranians back home are seeing the cost economically for the Iranian adventurism. And now, Drew, the protests are happening everywhere. And with Donald Trump in the White House, he has told the State Department to tell U.S. concerns, you must, within the next 3 months, you must stop import of all crude oil from Iran. When that happens, they're in big trouble because this is a country that has one resource, crude oil, and Islam, right? Theology, Islam. That's about its two exports. So they are teetering on an economic brink, and a lot of Iranians have just had enough, Drew, had enough.
I mean, Donald Trump's pulling out of this crazy Iran deal, it could have the effect of helping to overturn one of the worst regimes on earth.
Yeah, look, he is not. Donald Trump is not an interventionist. He thinks the money, the trillions we wasted in Iraq and Afghanistan, us going in to change other countries is crazy. But if other countries' people want to change their leadership, if they want to make it more representative, absolutely. That's what 1776 is about. That's how America was created. So yes, by pulling out of the JCPOA, the Iran deal, by recreating the sanctions regime, that may be the last straw that provides the possibility for the revolution of 2009 to actually bear fruit today.
So let's while we're talking about President Donald, let's bring this home. And before we talk about what the left is doing, which is insane, there does seem to be some confusion at the border. Today, they're reporting that they're not even really prosecuting illegals with families anymore. It's almost gone back to catch and release. Sarah Sanders says that's because they just don't have the resources. Is there confusion in this administration about how to deal with this, or are they looking for something that they don't have?
No, I don't think there's confusion when it comes to policy. The policy is clear. What there is there manpower constraints on doing what has to be done. There is absolutely, I will, if there's a good book here, I'll swear in it. There will never, ever be catch and release on our borders as long as Donald Trump is president. When he met with those angel moms, when he put those people in front of a camera to say, my children were murdered, Alyssa, these beautiful young girls, parents who invited to the State of the Union, 15-year-olds murdered by gang members here in the United States who had come into the United States under false pretenses. That commitment to the security of their nation will never be diluted by the president. But the left will use whatever, whether it's the cover of Time magazine, whether it's lying about the status of little girls who weren't separated from their parents, they will continue to use this as a hammer to bash the president. But at the end of the day, I think most Americans see through it.
Do you? I mean, I'm wondering. Yeah. I'm wondering what people are thinking right now. I mean, it's very hard to tell what people are thinking right now about these attacks on people like Sarah Sanders, the Florida AG, yes. Women surrounded and mobbed. I mean, it's painful to me to just see it happening in America. How far do you think the left is willing to go with this?
Well, look, a Bernie Sanders volunteer took a rifle and a handgun to a baseball diamond a few miles from where I'm sitting and with a hit list of Republican senators and congressmen and tried to kill them all and almost murdered Steve Scalise. So how far will they go? They've already gone. I mean, we have members of the Black Bloc, the anarchist group, that have been assassinating police officers in the last 2 years, going out to target police officers. So if there's one side of the political debate that's normalized violence, it's the left. Donny Deutsch, think about this for a second. Joe Scarborough, Donny Deutsch, on national television, used the principle of collective guilt. They said, if you voted for Trump, you're evil, you're a bigot, you're a racist. Now, Drew, in the last 100 years, which regime most viciously used the concept of collective guilt? I'll give you a clue. It was run by a guy called Adolf with a bad mustache.
Right.
Collective guilt was the justification for the Holocaust. Whether you're Jewish, whether you're a homosexual, whether you're Catholic, you bear the guilt for what happened to Germany in World War I. And 6 million people were killed in the Holocaust. The collective guilt principle has been embraced by the Democrat Party, and that is very, very dangerous.
Do you think the press, I mean, it really does seem to me that the press is giving shelter. A lot of people in the press are giving shelter to this kind of behavior. Is there any chance of them waking up, or are they so immersed? I mean, I don't believe that there is a single Trump voter in any position of authority in any network newsroom in the country. I would almost bet money that there is not a single person who has the authority to put a news story on the air who voted for Donald Trump. Is there any chance of them breaking out of this cocoon and thinking, let us at least address these 60 million people who voted for Trump?
Look, I've never been to an AA meeting, but what's the first step of admitting of going through? What's the first step, Drew?
You got to admit you have a problem. Yeah,
you got to admit you have a problem. When is Jim Acosta, who goes on television to lambast a grandmother who called him out for being fake? He actually after she pillories him for being fake news, he has to whine about it on camera. When is Jim Acosta going to say, you know what, I'm fake news? When is Anderson Cooper going to say, having a viewership of 600,000 people on the most popular CNN show in America, when there's 320 million people who aren't watching my show, when is he going to say, well, therefore I failed? It's never going to happen. As long as you have people like Jeff Bezos treating the Washington Post as his pet vanity project, then the free market principles of having to actually make money don't apply. So the free market's not going to stop them. Their own egos aren't going to allow them to admit that they are liars. So it's just going to go on for another 7 years.
So before I let you go, I want to ask you about this one other thing, this trade deal. I mean, this is the one place where a lot of conservatives have their backs up. We all like free trade. I like free trade. Obviously, Harley Davidson moving some of its manufacture out of the country is it's spooky. You know, we're afraid. Look, Trump has got the economy going down the track like a fast train. It's amazing. But everybody's worried that he's going to start a trade war that's going to gut what he's done. What do you think his plan is here?
Oh, I know what his plan is.
Okay.
I mean, I was in Singapore. I spoke to him. Look, people need to understand that the tariff issue, the issue of quotas, has nothing to do with trade country by country. It's a negotiating tactic.
Okay.
The president understands that the international global economic system is skewed not to favor America. And this is his messaging to get it back to where it should be. That's all it is, Drew.
So in other words, what he's saying is we're already in a trade war. I'm just accepting.
No,
okay.
When the EU quadruples the tax on our automotive products going into their countries, as opposed to how much we tax them coming here, who started the war? When Canada has a almost 300-point tax on U.S. milk products that hit farmers in America, who declared war first? The president doesn't want a trade war. He wants to reset things, but not with a cheesy plastic button like Hillary did.
Don't knock the cheesy plastic button. I mean, that's just a cheap shot, Sebastian. Anyway, come back when Why We Fight, Recovering America's Will to Win. Your new book comes out on July 24th. Come back and talk about it then. It's always good to see you.
I'd be delighted. Thank you, Drew. God bless.
Thanks a lot.